ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్ల దూరంలో నిలిచారు. అటు ట్రంప్ 214 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్లు గెలుచుకున్నారు. అమెరికాలోని మొత్తం 50 రాష్ట్రాల్లో ఇప్పటికే 45 రాష్ట్రాలు ఫలితాలు వెల్లడయ్యాయి. పరిస్థితి నెలకొంది. ఇంకా నెవాడా, పెన్సిల్వేనియా, నార్త్ కరోలినా, జార్జియా, అలాస్కా రాష్ట్రాల రిజల్ట్స్ ఇంకా రావాల్సి ఉంది. ఇందులో నెవాడాలో బైడెన్ ఆధిక్యంలో ఉన్నారు. మిగతా 4 రాష్ట్రాల్లో ట్రంప్ స్వల్పంగా లీడ్లో కొనసాగుతున్నారు. ఈ 5 రాష్ట్రాల్లోనూ పోస్టల్ బ్యాలెట్లు అత్యధికంగా ఉన్నాయి. అందుకే కౌంటింగ్ ప్రక్రియ ఆలస్యమవుతోంది. ప్రస్తుతం లీడ్లో ఉన్న పెన్సిల్వేనియా, నార్త్ కరోలినా, జార్జియా, అలాస్కాలో ట్రంప్ గెలిచిన మొత్తం ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్ల సంఖ్య 268కే బైడెన్ గెలిస్తే మ్యాజిక్ ఫిగర్ 270ని చేరుకుంటారు. అమెరికాలో మొత్తం 538 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్లు ఉన్నాయి. మ్యాజిక్ ఫిగర్ కు 270 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్లు సాధించాల్సి ఉంది. అయితే ఇప్పటి వరకు జరిగిన లెక్కింపులో డెమోక్రటిక్ అధ్యక్ష అభ్యర్థి జో బైడెన్ కు 264 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్లు రాగా, రిపబ్లికన్ అభ్యర్థి ట్రంప్ కు 214 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్లు వచ్చాయి. ఇక మిషిగన్, విస్కాన్సిన్, ఆరిజోనా, కాలిఫోర్నియా, కొలరాడో, కనెక్టికట్, డెలావర్, డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ ఆఫ్ కొలంబియా, హవాయి, ఇలినాయిస్, మెయిన్, మేరీల్యాండ్, మసాచుసెట్స్, మిన్నసోటా, నెబ్రాస్కా, న్యూ హ్యాంప్షైర్, న్యూ జెర్సీ, రోడ్ ఐలాండ్, వర్మోంట్, వర్జీనియా, వాషింగ్టన్ రాష్ట్రాల్లో జో బైడెన్ విజయం సాధించారు. అలబామా, ఆర్కన్సాస్, ఫ్లోరిడా, ఇదాహో, ఇండియానా, అయోవా, కాన్సాస్, కెంటకీ, లూసే, టెక్సాస్, ఉతా, వెస్ట్ వర్జీనియా, వ్యోమింగ్ రాష్ట్ర ప్రస్తుతం ఉన్న ఫలితాల ప్రకారం చూస్తే ఓట్ల కీలక పాత్ర పోషించే అవకాశం ఉంది. గత ఎన్నికల్లో రిపబ్లికన్లకు 306 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్లు వస్తే వాళ్ళు ఇద్దరు ట్రంప్ కు ఓటు వేసేందుకు నిరాకరించారు. అలానే 227 ఓట్లు హిలరీకి రాగా వాళ్ళు 5 ఆమెకు ఓటు వేసేందుకు నిరాకరించారు. ఒకవేళ బైడెన్, ట్రంప్ మధ్య ఆధిక్యం 5 నుంచి 10 ఎలక్టోరల్ ఓట్ల లోపే ఉంటే ఫెయిత్లెస్ ఎలక్టోరల్స్ అమెరికా అధ్యక్షుడిని డిసైడ్ చేయనున్నారు.
you are looking at here is what helped me make $450,000 in pure profit from a single trade. And no, you don't have to be a drug dealer to make this kind of money. You don't need to invest in cannabis stocks either. What you do need is an inside connection. And if you click on this ad right now, I'll be your insider showing you how you can legally tap into the same secret market I used. So you could invest in the next Facebook or Uber and potentially transform a few $100 into $2 million within the next year. But first, a warning. What I'm about to reveal may shock you. It might even make you angry, and it should. You see, while the ultra-rich and the financial elite have been using this hidden market for the past 150 years, it's been outright illegal for you to take part in it. Yet, every billionaire ever minted has made the bulk of their money thanks to investments made on this secret gray market. I'm talking about people like Chris Sacca. Back in 2009, he put roughly $300,000 into Uber's angel investing round. For you, this would have been actually illegal. But it wasn't for Sacca. He's part of the small circle of folks who are entitled to put their money into opportunities most investors are banned from. In other words, the gray market. And as a result, his stake in Uber
అమెరికా అధ్యక్ష ఎన్నికల ప్రక్రియ చివరికి సుప్రీంకోర్టుకు చేరుతుందా? అదే జరిగితే ఫలితాలు మరింత ఆలస్యమవుతాయా? సుప్రీంను ఆశ్రయిస్తామని ట్రంప్ పదే పదే ఎందుకు చెబుతున్నారు? కౌంటింగ్ తీరుపై ఎందుకు అంత అసహనాన్ని వ్యక్తం చేస్తున్నారు అన్న దానిపై రకరకాల ఊహాగానాలు వినిపిస్తున్నాయి. పోస్టల్ బ్యాలెట్లో అత్యధికంగా డెమోక్రాట్లవే అన్న ప్రచారం ఉంది. నెవాడా, విస్కాన్సన్, మిషిగాన్, పెన్సిల్వేనియాలో ఎన్నికలు జరిగిన తర్వాత కూడా మెయిల్ ఇన్ బ్యాలెట్లను అనుమతించారు. మొదటి నుంచి మెయిల్ ఇన్ అవుతున్న ట్రంప్కు ఇది తీవ్ర ఆగ్రహాన్ని తెప్పించింది. దీన్ని అతిపెద్ద మోసంగా అభివర్ణించారు. ఈ రాష్ట్రాల్లో ఇంకా మిలియన్ల కొద్దీ పోస్టల్ బ్యాలెట్లను లెక్కించాల్సి ఉంది. దీనిపై సుప్రీంకోర్టును ఆశ్రయిస్తానని ప్రకటించిన సారు. ఎన్నికల సమయం పూర్తయిన తర్వాత
versus 49.35. Another way of putting this is that the current represents 0.0007 of all votes counted, right? So 7/100ths of 1%. It's 3,486 right now, the distance between the two candidates. Now, the question is, can Joe Biden make this up? Because every time we get an update, that obviously not only adds to his count because he's been taking a more significant share, but it also reduces the number of available votes left, meaning those left to be counted that were cast on election day or were absentee or mail-in ballots. So let's take a look at where the numbers are coming from. We got a big number from Forsyth County. We're still expecting about 2,000 votes out of Forsyth County tonight. But even though Donald Trump is doing better than Joe Biden by a significant margin, I mean, a factor of 2, actually more votes went to Biden than to Donald Trump in the 2,771 votes we got in earlier, which is just fascinating. So where are the votes left? Right now, we're really going to be waiting on Gwinnett, and we probably won't get that answer tonight because there are 4,800 votes still outstanding in Gwinnett, and most of those were part of a software scanning issue where they have to go back and rerun all of those. So those 4,800 votes we probably won't get tonight. If you think about it right now, those 4,800 votes are actually greater than the number of votes between these two candidates. Last thing I want to leave you with is there are 8,800 military and overseas ballots that are due by close of business tomorrow if they were postmarked by election day, and those may or may not be returned in time to count, and they will be very significant, could be very significant, and determine the race.
Brendan, thank you. We'll check in with you a little bit later. Appreciate the insight, and certainly it gives us an excellent overview as to where we stand right now. If you want to see the latest results sent straight to your phone, you can text the word RESULT to the number on your screen. And you can also download the 11 Alive News app to get an alert as soon as the race is called in Georgia. No matter who prevails in the presidential race in Georgia, there was a strong likelihood of a recount. Recounts are strictly controlled by state law, but the presidential race seems to fall within the legal guidelines. In the governor's race 2 years ago, the Democrat Stacey Abrams was within 55,000 votes of beating Brian Kemp, but Governor Kemp won and there was no recount, and that is because the race was ineligible for a recount. Governor Kemp won by a thin margin of about 1.4%, but not enough to trigger a recount. State law says in order to be eligible for a recount, the margin between the first and second place finisher has to be 1/2 of 1%. President Trump's margin over Joe Biden is just 0.07. That makes the presidential race the only statewide or legislative or congressional race eligible for a recount. No recount is automatic. A campaign has to request it within 2 business days of the vote being certified. Certification likely is still days away. Every election is important, and every election is in its own way a part of history. But this one in Georgia has been one for the record books. There hasn't been anything quite like it. Here's Matt Pearl.
As of now, neither President Trump nor former Vice President Biden will clear 50% of the Georgia vote. The last time that happened, according to the American Presidency Project, was 1996, when Bob Dole won the state with 47%. Before that, it was Bill Clinton in 92 with 43%. Those races had a prominent third-party candidate in Ross Perot. They were also decided by fewer than 5% of the vote. The only 2 times that happened in Georgia since the Civil War. You'd have to go pre-Civil War to find a race in Georgia decided by this small a number of votes. In 1848, Georgians voted Zachary Taylor over Lewis Cass. by less than 3,000 votes. That's an election where only 92,000 even voted, as opposed to this year's roughly 5 million. As for margin of victory, right now Biden and Trump are separated by less than half a percentage point. The last time that happened, it hasn't. This will likely be the closest vote for president in Georgia's history. It's so close, we even got a viewer email asking, given all the talk of runoffs, would there be one here if neither candidate gets to 50%? Well, the answer is no. In a presidential election, the leading vote getter gets all the electoral votes. However, that's not the case in Georgia's 2 Senate races. We'll see definitely one, likely 2 runoffs for 2 pivotal U.S. Senate seats. If you're a voter, here are the dates you need to know. November 18th, that's a week from next Wednesday. It's when voters can request an absentee ballot for the Senate runoff candidates. December 7th, that's the deadline to register to vote. And a week later, December 14th, is when early voting begins. Election Day is Tuesday, January 5th. 2 months from today, it will mark the conclusion of a most unique election in the state of Georgia.
The president sent out a tweet regarding surprise ballots in some states. Jason Puckett breaks down the ballot counting process.
Wednesday morning, the president sent out this tweet saying last night he was leading in many key states. Then the leads started to magically disappear as surprise ballot dumps were counted. Here's the president in the early morning hours on Wednesday.
We're winning Michigan, but I'll tell you, I looked at the numbers. I said, whoa. I said, that's a lot. By almost 300,000 votes, and 65% of the vote is in, and we're winning Wisconsin.
Now, since that speech, Wisconsin and Michigan have both counted more votes, and the president and former vice president have been jocked as are due to surprise ballots, which are, quote, very strange. But there's nothing surprising or strange going on right now. We even verified this yesterday, before the polls closed. Wisconsin and Michigan are both states where ballot counting didn't start until Election Day. That means the record-breaking number of mail-in absentee ballots couldn't be counted before Tuesday. Here's the Michigan Secretary of State earlier this week.
We are on track to see double the number of absentee ballots, just over 3 million, submitted before 8 p.m. tomorrow. Based on basic math, we should expect it would take no more than 80 hours to count those ballots, which would take us through Friday.
And Wisconsin published a series of videos in October explaining that
accurate election results take time. The numbers you hear on election night aren't actually official.
Bottom line, the claim that these numbers magically changed due to surprising ballots is false. At this point, there's no evidence these are anything other than legitimately cast ballots being counted like normal. Folks, if you see other election claims out there you want us to check out, send us an email.
For your 11 Alive Storm Trackers watching, if you but it should be a great morning to get out with your dog before work. Tomorrow will be in the low 50s, few clouds or sunshine peeking out. Temperatures getting in the upper 60s by lunchtime and in the low 70s. What a great time to get out and take a walk in. We should be around the low 70s at dinner time. So coming up, how these increased clouds will impact the rest of your weekend.
Voters are concerned about the process of verifying election results. Cheryl Preheim had a chance to speak with 11 Alive legal analyst.
Joining us now, 11 Alive legal analyst Paige Tate. Paige, we've had a lot of people contact us of counting and certifying results, but this is actually a very normal part of every single election. We heard today from the Secretary of State's office, they've been trying to let people know ahead of time for months now that this is exactly what was going to play out.
That's exactly right. It would be extraordinary for us to actually have a decision and a final vote count on election day. What's unusual this year, of course, is the number of absentee ballots in election. And in most cases, it won't take that long to process those ballots because you just don't. So the process now is a counting process. That's what state law says. You vote on Tuesday, this week you count, and then next week you certify. So the fact that we don't have a final vote tally today or maybe even tomorrow is not a violation of the law, and it's not that unusual.
And worth reinforcing that this is what happens in every election. However, there's been record turnout in this election and a record number of absentee ballots because of the pandemic. But the process this election is exactly like it has been in every other United States election.
That's exactly correct. We're getting close to runoff territory. And normally that's not a big deal. That's going to take a lot of time when you have machine voting and you have scannable ballots. But again, we have so many absentee mail-in ballots this year that I think doing a recount of those ballots may put us into an additional week or so. So we just have to see how that plays out. But one thing I would like to say, with all of the attention on Georgia election officials, there has been no evidence of fraud in this election. And I just got to compliment the folks who are working so hard to run this election for what they have done so far.
Yeah, for the amount of work and the amount of scrutiny, it's been unprecedented in so many different ways. Always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
President Trump tweeting a lot while states continue to count ballots, expressing concern about the process. Twitter even flagging a few of his tweets.
It says changes are due to surprise ballots, which are, quote, very strange. But there's nothing surprising or strange going on right now. We even verified this yesterday before the polls closed. Wisconsin, the states knew this was going to take time. Here's the Michigan Secretary of State earlier this week.
We are on track to see double the number of absentee ballots, just over 3 million, submitted before 8 p.m. tomorrow. Based on basic math, we should expect it would take...
Bottom line, the claim that these numbers magically changed due to surprising ballots is...
As we head into next week, that could fuel quite a few clouds around to start tomorrow, and then we'll see some breaks in the cloud cover during the day. So a 10 on your wasometer, on that scale of 1 to 11, with 11 being a perfect day. Low sunset. The sun is setting at 5:41 now. So yes, thank goodness for stadium lights. Otherwise, we'd be sitting in the dark. So as far as what we're expecting to see as we head into the next few days, this is the trend, that easterly flow, showing that moisture working its way in here. And you may have noticed a few flashes of green on Sunday here across the Atlanta area to really change here as we head into the middle of next week and end up seeing that chance for rain going up as some of that remnant moisture from Ada moves in. So 10s on your wasometer for Friday and Saturday, 8s on our Sunday and Monday, 20% chance of rain with a good chance.
What's transpiring here?
To ensure that all of the state monitors were in the room as the vote detected for some Georgia voters.
and get him to either tie or Clayton County numbers are just in. So let's pull up Clayton County because we're going to want to see that. This is going to change the numbers here. They haven't hit the big board yet, but let's pull up Clayton County. I can show you here, obviously, Joe Biden has done. Let's write it up here right next to his name. 1,154 newly counted votes, and Donald Trump pulled in 160. When you look at the final analysis, by our count, Joe Biden has to take in at least that one on the board. Right now, according to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office, Republican, he says there are. Okay, this is really big news. So let's actually erase the whole board. It's going to 27 votes, and just a quick count of those. Do this really quick in my head and give you the latest numbers.
Yeah, let's do that. Now, I know, let's talk about
ballots could actually change the result of the election.
And if you want them sent straight to your phone, just text the word result to the number on your screen. There it is. You can also download it on the 11 Alive News app to get an alert as soon as the race is called in Georgia. Well, tonight we are fact-checking
a lot with a of over.
The office is run by Republican Brad Raffensperger.
Dedicated elections directors and their staff who are working to get this right. They are working diligently every single day. We know how many requests came in for absentee ballots. We know how many ballots are really important. And I understand that in other states there are questions. I can only speak for this state. Additional audit. We're going to have a recount for president more than likely, and people will see those outcomes stay essentially the same. The recount we had in Savannah really proved that the scanned ballots were the same as when a human being.
Live. Now, Joe Biden also.
The vote is sacred. It's how people of this nation express no one, not anything else, that chooses the President of the United States of America.
Mr. Biden went on to ensure the counts would be completed and that America will know the results very soon. All right, let's turn our attention to Fulton County. Officials say election workers have completed process
numbers and places where there's counting, but Fulton County is a place where counting those numbers is done. And that job, as I mentioned, the adjudication process, which requires a representative for both sides, a Republican and a Democrat, to look at those among some of those problem ballots. Take a listen to what she said. So that jungle election is now the election where there will be a runner in that. So some people select also. And so she was really a fan of this new system, and she also is very confident, and so was Lee, who we spoke to, and the sound that you just heard. She was also very.
To her is outside the Gwinnett County Board of Elections tonight.
All ballots coming in the batches affected. So the panel and 450 ballots received.
Georgia stands where the vote count stands, and you can find those updated results as well as the context of what.
Very carefully, and it looks like clouds are on the increase. So coming.
The president's lead over Joe Biden in Georgia shrinking as the votes come in. Now, we heard from him earlier tonight in his first public speech since the early hours. I'm like a radio host. You ready? Could you turn down your radio?
I can hear you just fine, Jeff.
His speech tonight was such that it was very fiery, very combative, very threatening, where he was questioning the integrity of, first of all, on this process, and second of all, those who voted for him.
That's his case in court in front of, in the hopes that they will be patient and that they will sort of wait this out with him. But then he on the processes that have already been set up.
Mike, if the president continues this sort of tact in the days ahead and is not able to really garner any more electoral votes, how do you think that impacts
Trump for the first Republican president in since possibly 1972? Make income and in fairness, middle class. They're going to be more blue collar, and they're going to be much more diverse, thanks to Donald Trump than most people.
It switches now.
It is true that President Trump can improve his vote share, and an overwhelming majority of Black men and Black women voted for Joe. Around 70%. That's what the exit polls indicate is happening. And so, yeah, there, some diversity within the Republicans, and still by about a 9-to-1 margin in African-American communities are voting Democratic. And I don't see that shifting much anymore.
Temperatures on the rise. We started out in the upper average for our low, and our overnight lows will not be as cool tonight or over the weekend. So it won't be another chilly, crisp weekend. It'll actually be a warm weekend. And we're going to see quite a few % chance of that. But I do think days we'll get some of that moisture, some thunderstorms here this week, and then we'll have to watch that center of circulation in the form of showers and storms, a 50% chance on Veterans Day.
All right, thanks a lot, Sam.
Directly online saying to
of participants. So the risk
have to do a lot of work to win.
Yep, hope for county by county breakdown. Brendan?
And this is, again, changing by the minute. It's really fast. Now, Ron, this is really important. We're expecting, that's 4,800 votes. And the 4,800 votes, we may not get till tomorrow or even by midnight. And so you're going to want to continue to watch here, but you're also going to want to watch us on Live. It's our favorite show. And but man, we are fried. And why are we fried? Because it's still election night and it's Wednesday night. But these are not new votes. These are votes already cast that are just
to assure our viewers out there, voices that you're hearing in your head does not require medication, but is actually from the producer.
Donald Trump has been
to steal.
All of us would agree that having an accurate count is
winning in all the kilos the way.
Sharpie markers that.
A lingering question for Eric.
I was a little bit concerned.
After a poll worker assured him it was fine, he put his ballot in the tabulator himself.
But my wife, who had the same issue in the
at vote centers because certifying results, but this is actually a very normal part of every single election.
Ordinary for us to actually have a decision and a final vote count on. We just don't have as many of them as we do this year. So the process now, however, I do see a potential problem because it looks like, at least for the presidential election, we're getting hard to run this election for what they have done so far.
Yeah, for the amount of work and the amount.
One, which is the big one, Georgia voters cast more absentee ballots this year than any previous election. However, there is a chance your ballot was possibly rejected and will not be counted, but you still have a small window to fix all that until 5 p.m. tomorrow. And it's other steps you should take to secure you if your ballot is rejected. And it's up to you to submit your voter identification and an affidavit confirmed and be counted for the election. But remember once again here, folks, you only have until 5 p.m. tomorrow to cure your ballot.
So we'll continue to see that easterly flow as we head into tomorrow. That'll bring in more clouds. Earlier, since we fell back over the week, we did all the way down to 47 degrees. So we're not going to do warmer, but it's going to be a very nice way to wrap up work week. And that means Friday night football are going to be great. You won't need the day. I think we'll see clouds from time to time, but more sunshine than we'll see clouds. It'll be the sunniest day. And then as we get into our weekend, we'll end up seeing some trying to work their way in here. This is into the Gulf it goes, and from that we're going to have to watch it carefully dry on Sunday and Monday. And then as we head into next week, rain chances going up, 50% chance of showers and storms on Wednesday.
His ballot was actually sent to the city with the right name, but in the wrong state. Amber Lake explains.
My vote not being able to count potentially.
Alex Duclos is a college student in Massachusetts, but filled out and sent his absentee ballot back to his hometown of Bethel, Maine.
And I saw what I could tell was not a normal piece of mail. I pulled it out and it was a ballot that was intended to Bethel, Maine. It made me sick to
my ballot, and it was kind of crazy because I had assumed my ballot had been processed a while ago.
He was very upset like I was at the beginning. I mean,
in that I made my voice heard.
No one was sure.
Notify that it was there and that my was going to count.
For Britt, it was important to do.
This is the first time I've ever voted, and I feel like every voice needs.
Hey, why don't we check in with Samantha Moore real quick for an update on the weather?
Okay, well, we're talking about it looking pretty nice as we head into this weekend, Ron. We end up seeing temperature.
In Georgia, how they are counting all U.S. Senate races headed to a runoff for January 5th. We're taking a closer look at the next round of campaigning that has already. Counties work on tabulating the final votes. We want to get right to Brendan Keefe. He is giving us a look, a breakdown of everything that we have right now.
That's right, Jeff. We just got...
Giving us a look, a breakdown of everything that we have right now.
That's right, Jeff. We just got votes. Let's actually pop over to the Secretary of State's lead. We are talking about fractions of a percent now. In fact, hundredths of a percent. The distance between these two candidates, 2.44 million, 2.44 million. If anyone ever says your vote doesn't count, your vote is represented in these numbers one way or the other, and it could determine the election. And of course, this election, the United States, based on the current...
The election apparatus in Georgia is run by Democrats. Also had...
In this process, 159 dedicated elections directors and their staff who are working to get this right. They're working diligently every single day. We know how many requests came in for absentee ballots. We know how many ballots were received. Outward bound, so nobody could suddenly show up with 100,000 extra ballots somewhere. In this state in particular, we take it very seriously. The entire name of our campaign for launching this new system was Secure Your Vote. And it's really important. And I understand that in other states there are questions. I can only speak for this state, and I can speak for the people of Secretary Raffensperger's staff, the elections directors around the state. They're going to get it right. We're going to have an audit to prove they got it right. We went for risk limiting audit, which is a little more difficult to do. We're going to have a recount for president more than likely, and people will see those outcomes stay essentially the same. The recount we had in Savannah proved that the scanned ballots were the same as when a human being read and counted those ballots. So I feel like in this state, we've taken the steps at every level to secure that vote and make sure the integrity of the ballot is protected.
So we are seeking to verify other claims the president made about Georgia during his news conference. We will have that coming up for you on Up Late at 11 on Alerts in Wilmington, Delaware, a few hours before the president on the status of vote counting in the remaining states.
In America, the vote is sacred. It's how people of this nation express their will. And it is the will of the voters, no one, not anything else, that chooses the President of the United States of America. It must be counted. And that's what we're going to see going through now. And that's how it should be.
The country is watching Georgia, the world as well, as we wait for more votes to come in. Fulton County officials say election workers have completed processing absentee by mail ballots. Letitia Lance joins us live in downtown Atlanta, where you have been outside State Farm Arena most of the night.
Yeah, that's right, Jeff. We have, and actually I was had with President Trump and those claims that he's making. There were still supporters who were out here for President Trump demonstrating in front of State Farm Arena. They just wrapped up a few minutes ago. They've been out here since earlier in the day. They had an issue with the way the votes